Donald Trump's decision to replace Matt Gaetz with Pam Bondi for Attorney General does fit a pattern: loyalists who make good TV. His new administration, potentially packed with former TV personalities like Pete Hegseth and Sean Duffy, and frequent guest Elise Stefanik, all familiar to Fox News viewers. TV host Dr. Oz, familiar faces like Tulsi Gabbard and Kristi Noem. Bondi herself was one of Trump's most vociferous defendants during his first impeachment trial.
We're here tonight because they threw due process, fundamental fairness, and our Constitution out the window in the House proceedings. That's why we're here, because they started in the secret bunker hearings where the president and his counsel weren't even allowed to participate when they're trying to impeach him.
Well, pair all of these TV-savvy picks with Trump's well-known cable news viewing habits, and it begs the question, how will TV influence his team and his judgments? NBC's Vaughn Hilliard is covering the Trump transition. Meredith McGraw is a national political correspondent with Politico. Mark McKinnon is back with me. Okay, Vaughn, take us into Trump's decision-making process. Do we know how Trump is making these decisions and whether or not they are being influenced by what he sees and has seen on TV?
Right. All of us here have been talking to sources about who these potential pick considerations are. Of course, we hear from some sources that are directly connected to want-to-be cabinet members who are throwing their name into the ring, and then others that are talking to Donald Trump who are batting around names as potential prospects with him. But then in several of the instances, there have been these sort of head-turner picks, like Matt Gaetz, who appeared to be a last-minute pick. Of course, Matt Gaetz is a frequent presence on the airwaves. But then Pam Bondi last night, just hours after Matt Gaetz drops out, of course, Pam Bondi, from Fox News to other right-wing outlets, has been a frequent presence over the last 9 years, ever since she endorsed Donald Trump over Marco Rubio. One other example that I'd give, though, also is like Mike Rogers, who from Michigan, who is under consideration to be the FBI director. This morning, he was on Fox and Friends, and with the banner there noting that he was under consideration to lead the FBI. But a mere 1 or 2 hours later, the incoming deputy chief of staff to Donald Trump, Dan Scavino, he tweeted out that he had called Donald Trump and that Donald Trump assured him that Mike Rogers had no chance. So really, Fox and some of these other right-wing outlets are kind of being used as also a place to go and try out. And frankly, for somebody like Mike Rogers this morning, apparently it didn't work out because he was informed over tweet by the incoming deputy chief of staff that Donald Trump would not be choosing him.
Okay, Mark, so it's very interesting the way these conversations have been going on surrounding, well, we know Donald Trump loves cable TV. Democratic Congressman Jim Himes reacted to the choice of Dr. Oz by writing, quote, "We are becoming the world's first nuclear-armed reality television show. Just spitballing here, but what if the Attorney General and the Secretary of HHS fight each other in an octagonal cage?" A little sarcastic, maybe, but in all seriousness, look, Donald Trump clearly wants people who are good communicators. Nothing wrong with that, but does that mean you're a good manager?
Well, listen, the difference between 2016 and this election is Trump was sort of an accidental president. He was surprised as anybody was that he was elected. I was there that night, and I saw the look on his face. This time, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he wants. And number one is loyalty. Number two is, are you a disruptor? And number three is, are you good on television? And why not? That's how Donald Trump got elected. I mean, remember, this is a guy who ran against somebody who on paper maybe had the best resume ever to be president, Hillary Clinton, running against Donald Trump, whose only qualification for the office was that he'd been on television, that he had a successful entertainment show. But in modern politics, the ability to communicate is essential. That's how Trump won. And so if he understands that in order to get policy done, in order to get legislation done, you have to have effective communicators. So it makes a lot of sense strategically that he's putting people in place that know how to communicate.
So, Meredith, something you know about, Politico reports that Congressman Mike Waltz, who used to be Trump's national security advisor, has, quote, used Fox News to get ahead. The Florida Republican made at least 176 weekday appearances on Fox News between the start of 2023 and Election Day, more than any single member of Congress over that time period. I mean, is that just an acknowledgement that if you want to serve in the Trump administration, TV is at least one way to get there, or a start?
Well, and TV's, like, Mark was saying, has been an important feature of Donald Trump's political career for years. And it's been a feature of his cabinet. In the first White House, there were a lot of his cabinet secretaries who were known to go on Fox News. And we know that during this transition, Donald Trump, down at Mar-a-Lago in the room where they've been reviewing candidates, has 2 TV screens where aides have been showing people clips of the candidates and photos of them. And Trump likes to think of himself as sort of a casting producer, and he likes to say when people are out of central casting. And so how they appear and how they sound on television is really important to him. And I do think in this era of modern politics where politicians go on TV constantly, they have social media presences. For Trump, I think he really views television as an important tool for communicating and getting public buy-in for all of the policies that he's going to be trying to implement. But it's also a way to keep your base together and keep your supporters in line and informed too.
So, Mark, let's go back to his first administration. His first press secretary, Sean Spicer, had done a lot of interviews as RNC chair before joining the White House. But he, I guess we could say, struggled at times to carry out Trump's messaging. I'm going to play a few examples of that.
This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period. Just the other day, he sat down with Martin Luther King Jr. I would call him a civil rights leader.
Not a current civil rights. His dad was the civil rights leader.
Well,
so he says it's a bait.
He's using the words that the media is using. But at the end of the day, it can't... Hold on.
The president himself called it a ban.
I understand.
Is he confused or are you confused?
No, I'm not confused.
We should point out, I think he lasted 6 months and 1 day in that job. But look, there are a lot of others who wouldn't or couldn't do or say what Donald Trump wanted, and they were gone too. We know some of Trump's picks now have been on the front lines of disinformation. So I wonder, Mark, if you think there's a line anymore that some people will draw. What do you think?
Well, not in the current Trump world. I mean, Sean Spicer, by the way, lasted a lot longer than a Scaramucci. And by the way, we may be calling him Mr. Secretary. So, he's on the list for Secretary of Navy. So he survived. And I think his television presence, he's done a lot of it since then. And he just, listen, he had to be the first guy into the propellers back then. And so that was a pretty tough job. But nobody had dealt with Donald Trump before the chaos. So you have to put that in balance. But I think if you look forward, the ability to perform and the ability to be on TV is going to be a paramount concern and a criteria for Donald Trump.